So I told somebody I'd do this video about archetypes. It's not going to be exactly the way other people talk about it, but it's similar, I'm sure. So what's the archetype of these poles here? It goes up a certain height and it goes out over the highway a certain distance, right? And there's probably a certain specific lumens. So that's the type, the arch type. What's the type? What's the archetype of now that's true for all highways probably in the whole world, right? It has to be a certain height and go over. What's the archetype for roads? There's always going to be a dash or a line or something to separate the lanes, right? What's the archetype of a tree? Well, it's got wood, it's got leaves, might have needles, but the arch type. So what about the arch type when it comes to biblical truth? Jesus is the head of the body. And so every home has a head, every church has a head, every business has a head, your body has a head. You have a head and a body. So your head tells your body what to do. Somebody driving a car is the head. There's passengers and there's a driver. They're all equal, but there's a driver and there's passengers. You got the head of a corporation who has ultimate responsibility. When the bottom really drops out, he has to be responsible. You got a president, even though he's just a figurehead, he's responsible. Everything falls on him. What else? Or what are some other archetypes? One archetype is flesh versus spirit. Everywhere you look, you'll see flesh versus spirit in the cartoons, at the cross, in your daily activity, your daily walk. Another archetype is the sine wave, up and down, the drama, the Draco-Ma system. Up and down, 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 the sine wave, it flows. What are some more archetypes? Okay, so here's an archetype. When you face off with a person or anything, whether it's a football game, basketball game, conversation with somebody, just face-to-face conversation, together turn, right? Or face-to-face anything. What is that archetype? That archetype is that no matter what you're doing, you're facing off with something like this. I'm facing off with this highway, but at the same time, I'm facing off with a steering wheel, and I'm getting feedback. Every moment, I'm getting feedback. In order to drive, I'm getting feedback. I'm touching this, even though when I say facing off, face to face, actually you can talk about touching it. When you touch the steering wheel, you're feeling the pull of the road, right? So the feedback loop is face-to-face Turing machine. It's actually the red versus the blue. The red versus the blue is the face-to-face Turing machine. Face-to-face, one-to-one, ace-to-ace. Face-to-face, ace-to-ace, one-to-one. So the archetype is no matter what you look at, behold, touch, communicate with, and you can communicate with 5 senses: touch, taste, feel, speak, smell. No matter what you're facing off with, and whichever sense, you have 5 senses bringing you back to your senses. So what you face off with actually pushes you higher, turns you higher, and it protects. Sometimes it protects you, it comforts you, it helps you, whatever. When you run into a problem, you're facing off with an issue, right? That's the purpose of the simulation, to be honest with you. All this is really simple. It's a simulation, and the outside is hitting you to turn you back to source in the inner man. And so a person who's in drama, they haven't learned that it's part of the process. If they can push through the drama, if they can get an understanding of what's going on and push through the drama, it's healthier. Because when you're on this side, if you can't see the archetypes or you can't see the pattern, I'll give you an example. So all the corporations, what's the archetype of all the corporations? They're in a business. A corporation means bodies. They're in business to make money, to make a profit, right? So when I look at that antenna dish up there, it's got a dish symbol. So when you see something shaped like a dish, even if you don't think, even if you don't know that it's an antenna, you think, well, that looks like an antenna. So the archetypes can reveal patterns and shapes and all that. And that's why it's hard for the AI computer to judge shapes, because there's so many shapes. But if you look at the context of where it's being used, so if I look on that disc on that what is it called? They call the platform. What's it called? The platform is they call it an antenna, but it's not really an antenna. The antenna is attached to the platform. What's it called? Tower. So the antenna is attached to the tower. So the tower usually has an archetype of a pyramid shape, right? So if you take it deep enough, you can say, well, it's like the Tower of Babel. It's like the pyramids. Kind of like a mountain, or like that mountain has like a pyramid shape if you really just kept piling the dirt on it. What am I saying? I'm saying if you really go deep into the archetypes, it's a language in and of itself. It's a language. You start to look for patterns, and you start to see that even the archetypes, overarching pattern is what it is. The archetype is nothing more than an overarching pattern. So let's say you want to destroy some bloodline lies and some culture lies. So you read the Bible, and you see that God is omnipresent. His mercy endures forever. God is a Savior. Jesus saves all the time. If He feeds the grass and the trees, is He not going to feed you? You know. But you can't be lazy about it. You got to get up and do something. You know. So you look at here's how the archetypes will help you. So you look at the economy, the news and the media, and say, it says, everything's going to crash. The stock market's going to crash. The gas is going up, and it's the end. The sky's falling. The sky's falling. Well, you know the sky. You look at the biblical archetypes, and you know that it's all just fake. It's all fake. It's all drama. It's fake as all get out, people. They've been lying to you. The reason they don't want you to see the overarching patterns, and actually when I talk about this, I usually get attacked. The reason they don't want you to hear this is because you get free. you'll get to the point where if you really start looking at the overarching patterns, the archetypes, you'll start to see past time. You'll see past time, you'll see past technology, you'll see past everything. You'll see the patterns repeat in grandparents, parents, children, and great grandparents. The same pattern repeats, and so you have a bloodline lie that tries to repeat down to the fourth generation, unless you get saved and break it by the blood. But you can't break that pattern unless you break it with the blood. And so that pattern is a overarching pattern back to Adam, the old Adamic nature. So you want to break the old Adamic pattern, our overarching pattern, which is the world, the flesh, and the pride life. So there's an archetype. All the unsaved are controlled by the world, the flesh, and the pride life. And so you want to break that, and you want to be controlled by the spirit walk. It feels good to break my insulin resistance problem with exercise and bicycle. I was doing exercise, but the bicycle put me over that top. Now I can eat anything, but I'm not going to eat sugar still. I mean, I might eat just a tad bit, but I'm not going to do what I used to do. That was crazy the way I was living. It was insane eating all that sugar. They want to kill you. Eating sugar gives you fatty liver. So what's the overarching pattern of the medical system? What's the overarching pattern of the education system? It's all lies. It's upside down pyramid. What's the overarching pattern of the devil's system? It's upside down. Everything that's right is wrong. Everything is truth, they lie. So you take the absolute truth of the biblical types and shadows, and you step into freedom. If you follow the types and shadows in your thinking, in your actions, in your words, in your thoughts, in your behavior, you're actually going to be free as a bird. Because let's say somebody comes up to you, some narcissist or something. He tries to put some fake identity on you. You already know the archetypes of the biblical truth, that you get you're seated in the heavenlies, you get your identity. So what happens is the system tries to make you think, I got to have this new car, I got to have this new house, I got to work for Amazon, or I got to be seen, or I got to have a selfie. The Facebook archetype is falling apart. It lasted for a while, now it's falling apart. It'll come back with the metaverse, I'm sure. But right now it's dying. It's got to die. The faces and the selfies, all that had to die. There'll be something else come up. And that in itself is an archetype. There's always a new fad. You know, what the women do, they twerked for a while. Then they did faces. And if you notice, the women follow the pattern. They actually follow each other, like try to magnify the flesh. It's pretty much. And why would that be with the world system? I'm not talking about the saved women. I'm talking about the unsaved women. Why do they try to magnify the flesh so much? Because if they can pull you down in the flesh, you become a slave. It's the Jezebel spirit. That's the archetype. And I'm not saying just women. Anybody can have the Jezebel spirit, men, women, whoever. But if they can pull you into the flesh, you become their slave, right? So this woman starts to go online, and she's twerking, and she's posting her little selfies and faces, and she's got this image that she put out there. So this man, he jumps in on that, and she wants to be worshipped, right? That's the archetype of Genesis 3. Hath God said you can be your own God? That's where the diva thing comes from. Divas. They want to be a diva, or they want to be worshipped. That's the ultimate drug dealer right there. Those divas, they want to, and so they try to tie one man in, and he gets addicted to the sex and the fake love and the fake flattery, right? If you read it, Proverbs 5, 7, and 9, you see she's sitting out on the porch and drawing men in, right? It's the fake flattery, it's the fake love, and she's taking people to hell with her. Now, I'm not just saying women are doing it. I'm just saying this is the type and the overarching archetype of the whole system. The devil's system is a Jezebel system started in Genesis 3. Hath God said? See, the devil was a created being too. And so the creation trying to be worshipped over God, trying to usurp God. So when a woman tries to usurp the head of her home, the man, she tries to usurp the man and bring him down. Her desire shall be to her husband, Genesis 3. She will try to rule over the man. She will try to flip the authority because the overarching pattern is the flesh persecutes the spirit. So Eve is the flesh side of Adam. So her desire shall be to rule over him, or her desire shall be to the husband. She's trying to. This is why the feminism movement is the archetypical patterns of reality started in Genesis 3. This fallen reality. Now there's archetypical patterns that started in eternity past. One of them is his word's forever settled in heaven. So his word is ever settled in heaven, and if you really think about it, every shape is a word. That handle, the way that handle's designed, the window, everything is a word. Every shape is a word, and it's hard for an English speaker to understand what I just said. But if you're from China, their shapes mean words. If you're from Japan, their shape means a word. So all shapes have a meaning. This has a meaning. Why does it have a cap? A cap. There's the captain of the ship. Why does it have curves? Because that represents the body. Everything has a deeper meaning. Every shape is a word. Every letter is a word. Door. A is the blood. S is integration. A is the blood. N is the snake and the fish. Nineveh. I is Iosis, Jesus. And so, even two letters have a meaning. Da, just Google D-A. It goes back to da, daddy, da, mama, papa. S-A has a meaning. S-A-N has a meaning. D-A-S has a meaning. If you do it in reverse, it has a meaning. Every word, every letter is a word. Every two letters is a word. Every three letters, it's a hologram. And when you start to see the overarching patterns, you start to see the hologram, and you see it's a fractal hologram, and you also see past time. This shape, this is the winged disc of Babylon, right? There it is right there. Here's the goat right here. See the goat horn? Here's the horn. The goat horns. There's Babylon. There's the Babylonian goat, the goats. But behind that is the blood of his cross. So red is the blood, there's the cross. Look at that. Black, white, and red, the blood of his cross. So 666 is encoded here. It's an overarching pattern of Babylon. Babylon is the overarching representation of the 666 cube system, the line system. And so it's encoded here, it's encoded here. Babylon is encoded here. But also the cross is encoded here. Forward means crossing. There's the cross, there's the cross. So everywhere you look, there's archetypical patterns of 666 and the blood of his cross. When I look at that window, I see a bunch of crosses, right? But I also see a blind. And so when the blinds are closed, you're blinded. You're in the cube, The building is the 666 cube. You're in a box. And when the blinds are closed, you're blinded. But when the blinds are open to see out of the box, you look through the cross. See those cross members? And actually, those boards on the side represent a ship. The boards on a ship, right? This actually looks like the ark. This is like the ark. And so the three levels in the ark, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. 3 levels. The archetypes are actually encoded in the leaves. They're encoded in the fact that these cars have 4 wheels. The 5th wheel is not needed because it's superabundance. 4 wheels, 4 tires is the archetype of a car. Keeps it balanced, can turn it. The reason there's 4 is because it works out the best. So technology, so you might say, well, how's that possible that everything's a word? Because God designed it. And so anytime you're inventing something, you're inventing it based on the human body. The human body has archetypes in the human body. So when they invented this radio, they knew how the length of your hand, and they knew that it was easier just to turn it. Turn this. Turn this. So when you look at this knob, because you've looked at 1,000 of them, you know you just got to turn. Nobody's told you that it needs to be turned, but you just know it. Because it's an archetype. There's a button. It's an archetype. You might say, why is that called a button? Because on your shirt, there's a button. You push the button through the hole of your shirt, and there's a button. You push it. It's all encoded, people. This is all words. Everything in front of you is a word, a type and a shadow of a deeper truth. You're in a book. I showed the verse in the Bible in Psalm 119, verse 16, I think. 109, 16, or 119. I think it's 109, verse 16. I just did that. He wrote your substance. He saw you before, and he was writing your character, who you are. He wrote it in his book, and then you were birthed. It was written. When somebody built this building right here, they did the blueprints first. It was written on the blueprints before it was built. I hope you could understand me. Like these DVD disc. There's an archetype to this. There's a type. Your DVDs, your CDs, and all that stuff, they follow a type. It's like a typewriter. Think of a typewriter. So when you're typing on a typewriter, what are you doing? You're pushing that key, the key, and it strikes the rib, and it hits the paper per the paw. I decoded a typewriter a while back, but you're piercing, you're poking, you're hitting. You're not actually writing it, you're just piercing it. It's already engraved on that piece of rubber or whatever it is. It's engraved. So as soon as you hit it, because it's already engraved, it hits the paper and makes an indentation. And so all this is engraved. So no matter what you look at, no matter what you hit, no matter what you touch, look at, say, speak, it's all encoded because it's already engraved. His word is forever settled in heaven. Jesus spoke it all into existence. All this was already set. So everybody that you're facing off with is a piece. They were written by God before they were born. And they are pieces of the whole hitting each other to bring everybody back to source. So the pieces of the whole pie face off to become whole. And then when you become whole, you're done unless you just stay down here to help other people. What's the archetype of your hand? Your 5 fingers. Everybody's got 5 fingers unless they are handicapped or got one cut off or something. So you got 5 fingers. Why is it 5? The number 5 is the archetype. Why 5? 5 is the spirit, the power. Your thumb is the power finger. So the archetype of the 5th finger is the letter E, which is spirit, which is power, not by might, but by power, but by my spirit. So the real spirit, the real power is in the spirit walk. So everything in front of you was already written before you showed up on the scene. You might say, well, what about inventions? They still follow archetypes. There's nothing outside of the archetypes. And once you see them encoded everywhere, then you see past time, because you realize that, hey, this has already happened before. And as soon as I go over there, it's happening there too. So no matter where I go, the color red on that flower right there is the same color red over there. So there's no such thing as space and time. So what does that mean? That yellow plant, look, green, yellow, and red. So I go over here to the stoplight, green, yellow, red. So what does that mean? It means there's no such thing as time and space. It's all a projection from the cross. So what's the why does it feel like time and space? Because your flesh body, flesh mind needs that, because it's not whole. It's not, oneness is in the spirit. Division's in the natural. So you want to be whole, you got to do it spiritually. You're not going to find peace down here. This is a divided system, and they're looking for peace. I already know what's going to happen. Peace, peace, sudden destruction. And those who divide us have to get their head cut off. That's what they're going to say in the book of Revelation. Peace, peace, sudden destruction. They think they can have peace in an ecumenical system, and they're doing it. They're not going to stop. We already know their game. They're trying to break oneness with all kinds of belief systems. Well, you can't have an ecumenical oneness. It's impossible. Jesus has to rule Jesus rules for 1,000 years with the rod of iron. The flesh is nothing but sin. The flesh is nothing but division. They can blame God or they can blame their neighbor or whatever. Your flesh is what divides you. The only way you're going to find unity is die daily. You must be born again, and then you learn to walk in the spirit, which is dying daily. That's the deal.